In the heart of central China stands one of the oldest and most legendary cities in human history, Xi'an. Once known as Chang'an, this ancient capital was the starting point of the Silk Road, the beating heart of imperial China, and the cradle of a civilization that shaped an empire. The Xi'an City Walls, built during the Ming Dynasty in the 14th century, is not just a military relic. It's a living time capsule. Stretching over 13 kilometers, this is the largest and best preserved city wall in all of China. It was built to protect the city from foreign invaders, but today it separates something different, past and present. From these very walls, you can see two worlds at once. One side, neon lights and skyscrapers. The other, ancient battlements, temple roofs, and stonework. Today we're checking out Xi'an City Wall, 1500-year-old wall. Come with me. However, before checking out Xi'an's city walls, we came back from the Terracotta Army the night before and decided to check out one of the night markets near us. This market was not as busy as the Muslim Quarter and not as well traveled. However, it still had plenty of good food and plenty of stuff to see and little shops. For example, this little wine shop attraction, I think. You'd basically drink a small cup of wine and then shatter the cup for good luck. After checking it out for a little bit and looking around, I kind of decided this seems interesting and I'll do it myself as well. They did have two different types of wine. They had a white wine and a red wine. I went for the white since everybody seemed to go for that. I think the white wine is made out of rice while the red one is made out of traditional grapes. After smashing the cup, I decided to look around more and see what else I could find. I did find this place that was doing a gelatinous sticky rice, or glutinous sticky rice, with prunes, dates, and a bunch of other fruits. So I grabbed that. I think that was like $1.50 for a sizable portion. They do have all kinds of different little shops. For example, they had one where they make hot chili oil. As shown here, they grind it in a traditional manner using a grinding stone. Settling on a place to eat, I made my way through the market and found a place that did biang biang noodles, which are the traditional food in the Xi'an region. And I've got to say, the few days that I was in Xi'an, I basically survived off these. They were my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You could get them customized in a million different ways, and they always taste different. What I like to do was a little ground beef, black vinegar, soy sauce, and a lot of chili crisp and green onions. I did manage to make these at home and recreate the recipe, and I will have this linked eventually in my cooking channel. So I'll put the link down in the description. You guys can check that out and make that at home. It was getting pretty late, so after dinner we decided to head back to the hotel, which is about a 5-minute walk away, and get ready for our next and final day in Xi'an. So we're going to be visiting the ancient city wall of Xi'an. These were constructed, I believe, 2,000 years ago and maintained and refurbished every 100 or 200 years, with the exception in the 1500s and the 1800s every 300 years. So it took a little bit to try to figure out the tickets because for some reason they wouldn't work. I need like a Chinese phone number. But this is the inner part of the gate. They would allow trade here through the Silk Road. This was a prominent like trading spot in China for a huge portion of trade. So originally this was just made out of like tamped earth, which is literal mounds of dirt pressed into a shape. Later on in, I want to say, the early 1100s, they ended up doing it out of brick. So this is the Yawning Gate of Xi'an. We're over here. You have the city walls spanning over here, and then you have another gate and tower. Outside of that, you have the moat. I believe this was built in the year 500, and then this was made out of tamped earth with a building on top. Eventually, it was upgraded to brick. The thickness of these walls is astonishing, to say the least. This was a major trade hub for the Silk Road, allowing trade between the Middle East, such as Assyria and Egypt and China. You can picture stalls and little shops everywhere lining this area and the inside over there. This was also made as a fortification to keep invaders out, and outside of this area was just miles and miles of farmland. So this is the moat area of the wall. This would be raised and lowered in times of turmoil or invasion. Also, at the end of the day, they would raise the city gates as to not get overwhelmed and attacked. You had smaller pedestrian gates and holes in the wall, but those allowed maybe 2 or 3 people. Those were like 2 or 3 people wide, not allowing for huge forces to move in, whereas the huge trade gates had drawbridges and they were lowered and closed to protect the city.
Most intact ancient city construction all over the world. It was named the first batch of National Key Cultural Relics Protection Units in 1961 and was rated as a National 5 Scenic Spot in 2018. There are 18 gates in Xi'an City Wall and 4 main gates, namely Yawning Gate in the south and Yuan Gate in the north.
So this was the city gate that was lowered at night.
Gate number 9. The Lunar Gate near Fourth Gate number 28.
So we've made our way to the top of the wall, and you can't quite get to that area over there's wall, but you can get to this area and walk around the entirety of the city. Well, the old city of Xi'an. What's really interesting, history-wise, this wall was used as fortifications and bunkers during World War II to protect against Japanese bombings. They also had anti-aircraft guns mounted here to shoot down Japanese planes in World War II. There was a huge restoration process and project that required I want to say 5 years to restore the damage done during World War II. But going back 2,000 years, imagine being a soldier sitting up on top of here, watching trade go down underneath and making sure there were no invading forces coming from the south. I want to say the wall is about 120 feet tall, which, given the scale of construction almost 1,500 years ago, is absolutely astonishing. Where they even had the moat surrounding the city dug out as well. And this wall stretches for about 2 miles in that direction, 2 miles in that direction, and about 3 to 4 miles in that direction, and then encompassing the north end of the city as well. Over here you would have more trade being done downstairs. So this one and this one were guardhouses where guards would live up here. You had the bell, which would be rang in case of invading forces. And then when we get up here, you can see the archer towers and more guard towers in the distance scattered along the walls. You can see them at like intervals of every like 200-300 meters scattered throughout the wall.
Gates in Xi'an City Walls and 4 main gates, namely Yangming Gate in the south and Yuan Gate in the north.
So apparently we missed the Spring Festival by a couple days. I think this was around the time of like Chinese New Year, and they had all these little like floats out and about. I bet this would look amazing at night, seeing the wall lit up with all these little like floats and decorations. They also had a lantern festival where they would kind of like do the little tea candle lanterns that would fly up into the sky. Out of all the cities that I've been to so far in China, which the number isn't too huge, we've been to Shanghai. I definitely love Xi'an the most. I think tomorrow I'm going to be visiting Beijing, even though Beijing's great. At least from what I've heard from friends and family that have been there, I still think that I would like Xi'an more. So as you can see in front of us, this used to be an academy for, like the old buildings over there used to be an academy for scholars to study. This was built in 1609. So some of these buildings are about 400 years old, if not more. I love that they have these little plaques that give you a lot more information, since not everybody's going to spend the time and look online and learn everything. Here we have another guard tower. This was used to overwatch for invading forces on the wall. Let's actually go over here and check it out. So it is estimated that you would need about 5 to 6 hours to walk around the entire city wall. Unfortunately, we have a train that leaves today at 6, and there is no time to get that done. These little dudes are so cute. I ended up getting a smaller one. They're like little Cabbage Patch Kids. Let's see, some stuff to try in Xi'an if you're ever here. One of the things that I would recommend is their hand-pulled cold noodles in like a spicy oil. Another thing I would recommend is they have like this sticky gelatinous glutinous rice that's with like dates, honey, and prunes. That is really good. So apparently over here it was a museum? This was a building established in 1100. So this is roughly 900 years old. Okay, correction. This was a Confucian temple made in 739. So it is a lot older than I said, which was then later transformed into a museum by another person in 1100. That's really cool. Yeah, I cannot stress this enough, like walking around here, checking out all the little placards and the little information panels that give you interesting little history tidbits that you can find out more about, like the area you're in, the buildings around that area, and exactly like what was done to the wall or like the additions to the wall. It's really nice that they have it written in English, since a lot of China's tourism is typically for like the Chinese population, since when you have a population of over 1 billion, you really don't need other foreign tourists to sustain your own tourism industry. But it's nice that they do have it written in English to allow other tourists to learn more about that area. My only regret for visiting the ancient city walls of Xi'an was that we did not have enough time to walk the entire perimeter and learn more about the history and the walls themselves in the city. It is absolutely astonishing to see how well preserved they are. So we've been walking around for about 20 minutes. Nah, actually. We've been walking around for about an hour. I don't think we've even done like 10% of the wall. And we have a train that leaves at 6 p.m. so we're definitely not gonna like be able to finish out the wall. It doesn't help that we've been stopping at every little thing to see. So we're probably just gonna go check out that temple, which is about 1,300 years old. And then probably head back to the hotel, grab our bags, and then it's a 4.5-hour train to Beijing. We'll be staying at a hot springs hotel and be doing the Great Wall of China in the morning. It was getting near the end of the day when we had to head back. So we decided to call it a day here and finish by going down from the wall and checking out this ancient temple. I believe it was a Confucian academy built in the year 800. I could be wrong. My only regret is that I did not spend enough time in the city, and I would have benefited one more day from being able to see the city and try foods and walk about and see everything that that city has to offer. I wish I would have gone to see the bell tower and some of the other temples, or like this temple. We didn't even have time to like finish out this temple. I think Xi'an will go down as one of my favorite cities. Its history, its food, its cuisine, the people, everything. I'd highly recommend you guys go check it out if you're ever in China. Let me know what you guys think of the vlog, and would you check this out. The next video will be in Beijing, and I will be scaling the Beijing Wall. And until next time, I will see you guys later.